The time is now to architect a life of excellence. What will we do? Who will we become? We decide today. This is Learn, Do, Become Radio. Let's move onward and upward together.
Hello and welcome to Learn, Do, Become Radio. I'm April Perry, and today I'm going to help you to be able to get more organized, starting with 5 simple things. If you want to be an organized person and you know that everything would change for you if you could just get all the details together, today I'm going to share exactly where you will want to start. Now, these aren't overly complicated, but they will get you immediate, long-lasting results. And if as you listen to this podcast, you're thinking, this is what I've been looking for, then visit learndobecome.com/episode 26. So episode 26. And you can learn how you can work with me and our team to set up your system. So more on that at the end of the podcast. All of the details, links, etc. will be on that show notes page. So as I'm referring to different posts and videos and things that we have available for you, just know you can go to learndobecome.com/episode 26 to find everything that you need. Okay, we're going to get started. Now, to be honest, I never really thought about myself as a productivity expert. I was just kind of figuring things out along the way. I love planning, I love organizing, but I'm a super normal person. So I have a husband and 4 children, and we have a dog. I drive the carpool. I run errands, help kids with homework. I work from home with my husband, Eric. We go to church. We're really a very normal family. But I'm going to start out by telling you a little bit about my background story, because when it comes to the 5 things I'm going to share with you today, I know what I'm talking about. And not in a let me toot my own horn kind of way. It's more like, let me help you transform your life so you can actually live again. I know what it feels like to be drowning in piles and to feel stressed and to feel anxious and to feel like your list never ends. But I also know how to get out of that. And I'm excited to be able to share this with you today. Now, as I share a little bit about my background, if you already know me and you just want to get to the 5 things, go ahead and fast forward. But if you're new, I really want you to trust me and know who I am so that you will really know that these 5 things are going to make a difference. Okay, so just a little bit of background. Now, I've actually been studying productivity for more than 25 years. It started when I was 13 years old. Now, all growing up, my room had been messy most of the time, and our house was kind of messy too. My parents tried, and really, it was all the kids. We were throwing everything and making messes, and we were not very helpful. Now, we would work hard and clean up occasionally, like we'd have guests come over, so we'd all kind of pitch in and we'd clean. But the messes always came back, and they came back relatively quickly. Now, I craved order, but I didn't know how to keep it. I remember working in my room and getting everything looking so good, but then it would just go back to a mess. And it was a problem my mom had too, and so we would both just look at our messes and be like, what do we do about it? Now, when I was 13, I got my first Franklin Quest planner. I know my sister had had one, my brother-in-law had had one, and one day I saw my brother-in-law using his planner, and I asked him what he was doing, and he sat down and showed me how he was making his lists. And I remember I went right to my parents and I said, for Christmas this year, all I want is a Franklin Quest planner. And that's what I got. And I could not wait for January 1st when I could actually use my planner. I would look at it every day between Christmas and New Year's Day, just waiting for that first day when I could plan. Yeah, that was me at 13. Kind of nerdy, but it's paid off over time. Okay, so I really liked how it felt to have a specific list and to have control over at least part of my life. I carried that planner around all through the rest of middle school and then high school and into college, and it was just my thing. Now, one quick story, when I was 17, we got a little advertisement that Franklin Quest was doing a live seminar in Long Beach, California, where I grew up. And I saw it and said to my mom, could we coordinate this? I'll help pay for it. I really want to go and sit there and learn how to use the planner at a deeper level. So I did. I actually was there as a 17-year-old in the front row. I ditched school that day and I was at my Franklin Quest seminar, surrounded by business professionals. And that was my happy place. I loved it. In fact, they came back and did an encore presentation the next year. I ditched school again and went to that one. And I have this little picture of me and Tony Robbins at the Franklin Quest seminar. This was like 1995, I think. Anyways, kind of fun. Okay. As I was using my planner throughout college and color coding and never missing a detail, that planner really helped me participate in all the activities and all the things that I needed for my life. In high school, I used it for student council and drama, cheerleading, academics, church activities, volunteering. People even called me the planner girl sometimes. And when Eric and I got married, when I was in college, we were in college, I actually found out Franklin Covey was hiring. Franklin Quest had then merged with the Covey Leadership Center, and I was so excited to apply to work. So I worked there for a couple of years until I had my first baby. Okay, so at that point, I've had this planner for years and years, loved it, used the planner, thought it was fantastic. And then I became a mother and stopped working so that I could be home with Aaliyah, our first daughter. And I just completed school as well. So now I've got my bachelor's degree and I've just stopped working. I'm sitting here with this baby. But I still had dreams and I still had goals. And I was still writing things in that planner because it was holding all these dreams for the future. One day, however, I remember a friend came over and she saw that I still had my planner and she kind of laughed and she said, "What do you write in there? Cook and clean?" And it totally caught me off guard because I thought, now that I'm a mother and now that I have a family, it doesn't mean that my goals are stopping and it doesn't mean that I don't have a lot to coordinate. So I didn't really say anything back, but I remember thinking, this is really important to me to be able to have a planner that supports my life and to be able to move forward and to organize and prepare. Now, fast forward about 8 years, and I had 4 children under the age of 9, and my planner wasn't really doing the trick like it had before. I didn't really have control over my time, and I felt stressed more often than not, and I felt like I was running in circles all day, busy, but never really moving forward. Now, as I've come to work with hundreds of thousands of people around the world over the last 10 years, I've discovered that this is how most people feel, like they're working and keeping busy and doing a lot, but not really getting projects over the finish line and not feeling like their to-do list ever comes to an end and never really feeling peaceful and calm and able to enjoy life. It's not just for parents. This is for people who are working in the business world or in a corporate setting or who are running their own businesses or homeschooling. This is really, really common. So as I'm in the middle of that pain, thinking, okay, how did this planner girl turn out so stressed out? I read David Allen's book, Getting Things Done. And I was so excited about what I read because it finally locked into place all of the training that I'd had since I was a 13-year-old girl. I actually invited friends over and started teaching them what I was learning. I had a little 3-page outline just for free. I just come over my house. I want to share with you what's changed my life. And then I started writing about it on my Power of Moms website and made a little program, and it grew and grew. And now we have our STEP program at Learn, Do, Become, where we teach people how you actually build this command central and create this system that enables you to totally relax. Now, I've probably spent about 5,000 hours or more just on this process over the past 10 years, teaching it to more than 100,000 people in live trainings. I've taught more than 500 online classes with Eric and written dozens of articles and engaged with more than 10,000 people in our members' Facebook groups. And it's really exciting to see what's been happening as this system is really taking off. So now we have a team and a business at learndobecome.com. And this is my passion. This is my mission, to help people to get out of those piles and to build a very simple command central. All right, so why 5 things? Today I'm going to be talking about 5 parts of the command central. A full command central has 15 parts. When you think of it like a machine, like a car, a car has a certain number of parts that you need to have in order for the car to function. So you need to have your steering wheel and your engine and your brakes and the tires, right? All those little parts that often break down that we have to go take care of. But at Command Central, I think of it kind of like a machine that has 15 parts. And that's what I've been teaching people how to create, all 15 parts, because I'm thinking, well, everyone wants to know how to build a car, essentially. But a couple of years ago, I realized that I needed a faster way to help people experience the magic. Or they would think that what I was teaching was just kind of more of what they'd done before, and they didn't really take it very seriously. So I started going into the offices of CEOs, parents, entrepreneurs, business professionals, and showing them the most essential 5 parts, which I discovered as I started teaching them. I started asking questions and trying something here and there and watching the expression on their face and waiting to see when they felt relief. Okay, so then I noticed a couple of things as I was doing that. Number 1, I identified the 5 parts that worked the magic. And the people who I helped were able to catch the vision. I could see that. But the second thing I noticed is that they couldn't maintain it very well unless they invested the time learning the principles for themselves. If I just went into their office, created it for them, and did it, and then left, the chance that they were going to keep it up, not very good. But if they went through it on their own, which I had a bunch of other people go through and do, it stuck. So then I started hearing people say, oh my goodness, what you just taught me about email? Yep, they're always at 0. Or, oh my goodness, you totally changed my life. I put this current projects thing in place. It's awesome. So I learned, okay, I can't just go into people's offices and do this for them. And that's not really scalable, right? But I learned I could solve this problem and put it into a digital format. So right now, I'm actually super excited about this. At Learn, Do, Become, we're actually doing a revamp of the STEP program. We're rearranging just a couple of the modules and making Module 1, our new Module 1, a professional quick start that's going to feature the 5 parts of the Command Central that I'm about to show you today. Honestly, I can't wait because my goal is to be able to go up to any busy professional or busy parent and say, give me your Friday afternoon, 12 to 5. Just go through this new Module 1, learn these 5 things, and then note how you feel because you're going to be hooked and you're going to want to go through the whole program and you're going to implement all 15 parts of the Command Central after that. But this is going to change your life. We're going to get your workflow moving so that we're going to take that stress off, take the pressure off. I kind of compare it to, I'm going to teach you how to make a skateboard and just get you moving. Then you can build all the rest of the parts and make a whole car. But let's just get that motion going. Let's help you so you don't feel stuck anymore. And to prepare for this, I'm actually doing a boot camp. I don't know if I'm ever going to do this again, but this is a one-time thing, at least for now, that I'm doing. And if you're listening to this podcast right when it releases, it's happening June 11th through 14th, 2018. And all members of our Step Mastery program are going to be part of it. We've just announced it inside the group and created events in our Facebook group. So if you're thinking, oh my goodness, I want to be part of this boot camp and I'm listening in time, just go to the episode show notes page, that episode 26, go there, and we'll have all the links on how you can do that. Now, if you're listening to this podcast later and you're thinking, well, I want to take part in all these fun activities, this will be the new Module 1 of our STEP program. So go to learndobecome.com/step to find out more, or go to that show notes page. We'll have it all linked there. Okay, sound good? Are you so excited? So we're going to now jump into the 5 things. If you want to be organized, you start with these 5 things. You're going to build momentum and you're going to be super excited. Number 1, we're going to talk about the calendar. Number 2, the routines list. Number 3, your current projects list. Number 4, next actions. And number 5, emails to 0. Now, emails to 0 could be done first. I'm kind of debating still. I haven't quite decided if I want that first or at the end. But the reason I'm putting it at the end is because the most awesome way to sustain emails to 0 is to have these other 4 things in place. So I'm putting it at the end just because I think it really makes the most logical sense. Now, honestly, I want you to be inside our program, because that's where I'm going to show you videos and step-by-step instructions, examples, photos, etc. And we have an entire community to support you. to be honest, I would do this kind of stuff for free. Like, I don't do this because I think of it as work. I do this because like I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking, when can I go record my podcast? And when can I talk to people and help them to get organized? Because this is life-changing stuff. But what I've found is when I have done it for free, when I've had people come over to my house and I've just given them free courses, or when I would just be like, hey, yeah, like if someone was struggling, I'd be like, hey, just take the program. I found that they weren't successful because you value what you pay for. And we've had some people who've come to our class 4 different times and they said, I finally have earned the money to get this. And guess what happens? They get in the program, they knock it out of the park. So while yes, I would do this for free and I do this for free a lot, this is something that is worth the investment because it's going to pay for itself 1,000 times over. And that's not hyperbole. This works. So now what I'm going to do here is acknowledge that you might be skeptical. And so some of you are going to be thinking, well, I just kind of want to know more about what this is about before I would join a program. Because a lot of people don't trust themselves in programs, or they think, oh, I won't use it, or it won't work, or I get it. I totally get it. Or you might just be more of an independent learner and you're thinking, just give me the gist of it and maybe I can just figure it out, which I get. And if you can just figure it out from this podcast, great. But if you're thinking, I would love more community support, help, coaching, I want the up-to-date, best version of this program that there is to save me time and money and energy, then you'll want to come join the program. All right, so we're going to go through these 5 things and I'm just giddy with excitement. But you don't have to be giddy about organization for this to work. If you hate organization and you're more of a creative type, or you're just someone who has way different skills than me, that's fine. This will still work for you. All right, going into number 1, we're talking about the calendar. Now, let's just talk about first the common challenge with the calendar. Most people have some form of stress over what's on their calendar because either they have no calendar, or they have a packed calendar, or they have a suboptimal calendar with no distinction of time-specific versus flexible activities. Most people don't use triggers. They just end up with this jumble of stuff. I know that's how I used to work. Now, what I want you to have is a calendar that feels like a blank canvas. Open, tons of white space, easy, light, seamless. So you never cringe when you open it. You just think, what's on the calendar today? And then your day feels beautiful from the start. Now, there are 2 types of date-specific tasks. Some date-specific tasks are just date-specific, like it just has to happen on this day, like pick up my dry cleaning. But some things are date and time specific, like, oh, I have to call Joan at 1 o'clock. We have an appointment, or she gets in the office right at 1. You need a place to put both. That's the essential lesson I want to teach right now. So what I do is I put date and time specific things on my Google Calendar. So anything that's like, oh, at 2 o'clock I'm doing this, at 1 o'clock I'm doing that, that's on my Google Calendar. But I write my flexible date specific tasks that are time flexible in my Franklin Planner. I still do use that. And I have a little prioritized daily task list. I use the 2 pages per day. Now, I'm not going to go into all the detail on this right now because I have 2 great posts on the website that you can go check out. And again, links will be on the show notes page, learndobecome.com/episode 26. But the 2 posts, one of them is called My 2-Minute Planner Tour. I'll actually show you a photo of my planner, how I incorporate Asana and GTD and Google Calendar and Evernote, all of that into my Franklin Covey planner. I still use that. And then the second post is called 3 Easy Ideas to Help You Love Your Calendar. I'll show you how I create triggers. It's all put together there for you, okay? And then if you want more, even more in-depth, that's inside the program. Okay, number 2, routines list. Let's talk about the common challenge here. We all have things that we have to do over and over again. We need to exercise, we need to go to meetings, grocery shop, pay bills. But most people don't know what exactly to do with routines. So either they put them all on their calendar, or they put them all on their task list, or they lump them in with their projects, and then they have a list that feels like it never ends. Because routines by nature never end. So then that list just keeps growing and growing. In fact, I was at this entrepreneurial conference one time, and there was this guy who owned a business, and he had a lot going on. Like, his business was doing well, but he had a lot going on. And he had this big yellow pad that was his task list. And it was at least 10 pages long. And I said, so what do you do at an event like this when you get 50 more ideas? And he said, oh, I just keep adding it to the list. And as I looked at that list, I thought, whoa, okay. No wonder you're so stressed out, because you're setting yourself up to be overwhelmed. So what I want you to have is an optimal way to identify, record, and implement your routines so you feel supported and energized without the overwhelm. Now, first step here would be to do a brainstorm of all of your routines. And I recommend 3 categories: personal routines, family routines, and then beyond, routines beyond. And that means beyond personal and family work, things like volunteer work or paid work. So I want you actually making a list. And if you can segment the list, it's helpful because it'll help kind of, jog your memory and help you identify. So for example, personal routines. Maybe it's exercising every day, getting enough water, being able to call your dad or have time out with friends. What are things that you do to replenish yourself, to take care of yourself? Maybe it's writing in your journal, things like that. Family routines are the things like we clean the house, we are going to clean the carpets, we're going to pay these bills, we do a vacation, we have piano on Fridays or whatever, right? But you have all your family routines, including things you're doing with your family members and maintenance and other tasks you're doing. And then you have beyond. So it might be things like every month I help out in the classroom at school. So these are your volunteer activities. Or for paid work, you probably have a whole series of routines. Like I have an entire series of routines for paid work. How often I'm doing meetings, how often I'm reading, networking, going to conferences, right? Learning, how often I'm on social media, how often I record podcasts, how often we're emailing our community, how often I'm going into my programs and doing updates, right? There's a lot of different things that we do over and over and over again inside of our business. But if you can make a list with those 3 categories, your personal, family, and beyond, and look at daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, twice a year, and yearly. Make a very simple chart. That's going to be huge for you. Now, some of those routines are going to go on your calendar. Like we have a team meeting every Friday morning at 9 o'clock. That's on my calendar as a repeating event because I want to make sure I don't schedule something on top of that. Or if something does come up, I need to have a calendar trigger to reschedule that meeting in advance so our team members don't show up wondering where I am on Friday. But other routines simply need to be in a place where you can review them as part of your weekly review. So Asana is a great place for this. You could also just have a printout, something that you post in your office. You can have it in Evernote. It really doesn't matter where you put it, but you need a place to be able to look at all these routines that are supposedly on autopilot. Now, the thing is, you don't want every single routine on your calendar because it's going to stress you out. And the fact is, a lot of routines don't need to be done. Like, yes, ideally, I'd love to take my kids to the library, once a week. But I'm not going to do that every single week because some weeks are just a little busier than others. Ideally, I would love to be posting things to social media and be more engaged or do a Facebook Live every week. Fact of the matter is, I don't have to do a Facebook Live every week. It doesn't need to be on my calendar as something set in stone. The mistake that I see most people making is they'll set these routines totally in stone and feel like a failure at the end of every day, or they don't review them or put them anywhere and they never actually do them. So we want that happy medium. Then what you need is a way to follow up with yourself. Because if you keep missing a routine, you do need a temporary calendar trigger to help make it a habit. Like let's say we haven't washed our car for 6 months. I won't say if that's true or not, but let's say we're thinking, we probably need to wash our car more often than every 6 months. And it doesn't need to be me who's doing it, but our kids, most likely, especially the children who borrow the car, now that we've got a couple drivers, they need to be washing the car. So we need to establish a routine and they need to create calendar triggers. And I need some triggers in there to have a little, checkpoint to be able to make sure that it's actually getting done. But being able to have some kind of a trigger or some way to be able to keep up with those routines and make sure they're actually getting done is extremely important. But the ultimate goal is to have a super simple list of routines that does not feel like it's got you in a straitjacket, that run on autopilot and are not associated with your calendar or your projects list. We actually have a post where we talk about routines. It's called Run Solid Routines on Autopilot. I will link to that on our show notes page. Remember, episode 26. Just go there. We'll have a link there. And we actually have a full 1-hour class on how Eric and I do routines in our home and family that you can get that free class if you help share our free training like on social media or via email with your friends. So that's available for you. I don't know how long we're going to have that up, but it should be up at least right now as we're publishing this podcast. So go check out the show notes page if you're thinking, I want more with routines. Go check it out and we'll show you how to do that. All right, moving on to number 3, the current projects list. Common challenge is that most people have 50 to 100 projects that they're trying to work on simultaneously. And that's why you might feel like you are a pinball in a pinball machine, where you start one project, then you remember you need to do something else, and then you go to find that thing you needed, and then you're like, oh yeah, we gotta do this too. And you end up bouncing around like a pinball all day. Now, I know how common this is because in our free training, we'll ask people, how many of you feel like a pinball? It's like the whole class, okay? So super, super common, and there's no shame. It just means that you don't yet have a system to be able to organize your current projects. The other thing I notice is that most people have projects that are all at different stages. So they have one project that's like waiting for something else to happen, another project they just started, another project that's mostly done, but all these projects are just kind of out there, really going up into 50, 60, 70 to more than 100 projects. New projects then will come in before the old ones are finished. I mean, like imagine yourself. You go to a conference and someone says, oh, if you do these 3 things, your business is going to skyrocket. And you're like, well, that's awesome. So you put those 3 new projects on your list, but what about the 47 other projects you were already working on? What do you do with those? They usually just sit there and then you can't let go of any of them because you know that they're all important. So you add and add and add. And then when you do have time to work, you just start picking something that either has the squeakiest wheel or that is sitting right in front of you, and you just start working, but there's not a whole lot of satisfaction. I was talking to this woman the other day who's in charge of marketing at this awesome company. She's doing great work. But I was asking her, well, how are you doing with your projects? And she's like, oh my gosh, I show up at meetings and I'm not even prepared because I didn't know what the meeting was about. Then I get out of the meeting and I have 30 minutes to work on something and I'm thinking, well, what do I even work on? So I just work on whatever we just talked about at the meeting. Meanwhile, there's bigger projects that need to get done that are never getting done. And I went into another company and they were showing me how they had all their projects organized. And there's lots of resources out there. There's this Basecamp and Reiki, Monday, Asana, Trello. I mean, I've gone into people's systems and what they typically have are seriously, it's like 50, 60, 100, 200 projects, all at different stages with things assigned to all different people, a lot of dates that are overdue. And I mean, it stresses me out even just looking at them. Okay, so if as I'm describing this, you're thinking, holy cow, are you in my life? Let me just tell you, we can change that for you. Okay, what you're going to want to do, well, let me explain what I want you to have. What I want you to have is a simple, streamlined way to organize your projects so you can move forward on the most important ones without feeling overwhelmed. That feels good, right? So you're going to want to first do a projects brainstorm. I want you to write down everything that you're trying to do that's a multi-step task that feels too big to do in just a step or 2. Now, if it's something a little simple like, oh, we're planning a quick get-together and it's maybe 2 or 3 tasks, I probably wouldn't put that on my current projects list. I would just write down the tasks that need to be done, and we can talk more about that in the next step. But I'm talking bigger projects, like we've got to take care of the back taxes. We've got to fix this technical issue, like big projects. Now, what we do recommend is that you pick about 7 to 8 projects that are current across the 3 categories, personal, family, and then the beyond, volunteer and professional work. But for the sake of this podcast and what we're going to be doing in our boot camp and our professional quick start, is we're just going to focus on how you might organize your professional projects. So let's say you have 7 to 8 projects total, personal, family, professional, or volunteer. You want just 2 to 3 projects to be inside your professional sphere. So right now I have 2 projects that are on my personal current projects list. One is planning our boot camp, and one is creating a content calendar for Learn, Do, Become for this month. Those are my 2 projects. Now, I have a lot more projects in my in progress and waiting section. We've delegated, there's like 8 projects happening amongst our team members. I have more in my next in line list. I have even more in my someday list. But the beauty is that I don't worry about them because I have a tiered projects list and I only have 2 in my current list. Now, some people will say to me, April, I have 50 projects I have to do. I can't just pick 2. But my question is, how is that working for you? Because if you really legitimately can work on 50 projects at a time, that's fine. But if you're not working on any of them, or you're not getting any of them done because you feel so overwhelmed, I encourage you to try something new. Take 2 or 3 and put them on your current projects list, and everything else is going to be waiting in line. I know initially you might feel like you need to panic, but we're going to teach you how eventually you can get this set up so you're just churning through projects and you've been able to renegotiate with yourself or with other people, letting them know, hey, I had to prioritize because I wasn't getting anything done. These 2 are my priority. This is waiting in line, and I should be able to get to it by this date, right? We just don't want you stressed. Now, I have calendar triggers in place to remind me to check on any projects that are like waiting in line or my someday list if I think, I really don't want to forget about these. Of course, you don't want to forget about them. So if something were to happen and you didn't move forward on your current projects as quickly as you would have liked, you may need to do a reassessment. That's fine. Calendar triggers can totally help you with that. So especially when you're delegating projects to other people, you want some kind of a calendar trigger or some kind of a routine in place where you're going to make sure that you notice that, you're able to communicate with a person, and you're able to follow up. But the goal is to be able to focus all of our brain power on the most important projects. If you've ever read the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown, perfect example of that. It works, and this is huge. Now, I won't go into detail more on projects right now, but I do have an entire podcast on how I use Asana to organize my projects. So I'll put the link in the show notes page, but this is on Learn, Do, Become Radio, all about Asana, showing how I actually structure it. It's a game changer, honestly. All right, now we're going into number 4, talking about next actions. First, let's discuss the common challenge here. People often feel paralyzed by big projects, so then they don't do them. They procrastinate and they just sit and they wish that things would change. But typically, when you have a big project sitting on your shoulders and you're like waiting till the last minute to work on it, that is draining your energy every single day, causing you to be a crazy person. And if you are spending any of your time marching around your home or office, yelling at people, getting cranky, and then eating a bunch of food you're not supposed to eat, or spending time binge watching way too many Netflix episodes when you know you have other stuff to do, this is a wake-up call, okay? It's time to change that, because that kind of behavior can work for a while, but for long-term thriving and a happy life, it's not going to work. So what I want to do is give you hope that that can actually change. What I want for you is to become so good at identifying next actions and organizing them by context that you never feel stuck again. Now, I know it seems a little crazy to think, okay, you're going to teach me how to change my lists up a little bit and I will never feel stuck again and I won't procrastinate. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I used to procrastinate everything. Eric and I had a business we were starting 10 years ago. I was stressed about it. I didn't even want to work on it. I waited till the last day to send in my college application because it felt too big. I was a classic procrastinator, honestly. I would stay up till 4 a.m. and finish something the night before in college, or an hour before my speech class. I remember I'd go to they had a little workshop area, lab, where you could laminate and make things for your speeches. I'd wait till the last day, the last minute. And that's just how I always worked, because I thought I was doing my best work. And I felt like, oh, that energy of the deadline, helps me get things done. Totally not true. It was not my best work. Now I work in advance and I actually do work that I'm proud of and I don't feel stressed about it. So that's what I want for you. Now, this, moving forward in our next actions, it works along with the 2-minute rule that you may have heard from David Allen or from others. The 2-minute rule is just that if something can be done in 2 minutes or less, you just do it. You don't write it down. What I used to do is I write it down. Like when I had a check to write for my mother-in-law, and it was like paying for our phone or something like that. I wrote down on my planner, write check for Peggy, write check for Peggy, write check every day. I kept postponing it. I think I wrote it down every day for a month or more, until I finally realized, I can just get out a check and write the check and put it in the mail and it's done. So anything that's going to take 2 minutes or less, you just do it. You're not going to write it down on a list and wait for the right time to do it. You just do it. But any next action that you cannot do in 2 minutes or less is going to go on a flexible list that's organized by context, meaning where you are when you're getting them done. Now, I'm going to share a little bit about the context, and then for more information on this and a whole full workshop that we'll do for you, just go to our free training, learndobecome.com/step. Again, we'll have links to this. It's called How to Finally Stop Drowning in Piles. You can find that on the show notes page as well. But imagine that you have a very simple, flexible list, and you organize that list by where you are when you're getting things done. So what David Allen recommends is like home, errands, computer, phone calls, and to discuss. These can be adapted, however, to really work with your methods and the life that you're living right now. So for example, we had a woman who had a little baby. She said, I organized my contexts by things like when I'm home and the baby's awake, when I'm home and the baby's asleep, when my husband is also home, right? When my husband's gone. She has things organized depending on whether she has a child to care for at the time. If you worked in an office and you're trying to really tighten up your context, you could say, okay, when I have quiet time in the office, I work on this. When I'm sitting in the middle of a meeting and the meeting is boring, here's a few little things I could be doing or sketching or outlining, which hopefully you don't have to sit in a lot of boring meetings, but sometimes you do. It's good to have little things that you can have in your little planner or notebook or something that you can work on when there's dead space. Or you could say, oh, when I'm actually sitting face to face with this specific person, here's my to discuss list for that person, and here's my to discuss list for this other person. Or when I'm in this specific room of our office that has access to this machinery or whatever, here's what I'm going to do. So you can totally adapt these contexts to work with your life, but the basic ones that I use is home, phone, errands, computer, and to discuss. Works beautifully, super simple. Okay, so we're going to just practice 2 next actions right now before we move on to emails to zero. 2 current projects that I had that I shared with you earlier. One is the boot camp. Okay, so for a boot camp, that's a big project. There's a lot that we're doing with this. We're doing 4 different trainings. We're putting together little recaps of those trainings. We're recording them and giving them to our mastery members. I'm creating a Google slide deck for each one. Like, we're really putting a lot of energy into this, and we're telling people in our community the boot camp is coming. So if people are interested in just, getting off the fence and coming into the program, this is a really good time to do it. So my next action for the boot camp was just to spend 15 minutes brainstorming the project. So I got out a piece of paper and I wrote down, okay, what do I need to do in advance with the signups to make sure that everyone is getting the link to those Zoom calls we're doing? What do we need to do about the emails? How are we structuring these inside of our system to make sure the appropriate people are getting the emails and that they can unsubscribe if they want without messing up their subscription to our community emails? How do we invite different people to join the program? How am I going to make these slides so if I need someone else to edit them and they don't have the same fonts or images in their computer, it wouldn't get messed up? I mean, there's lots of little details going in there. How do we set up our Facebook events? Are we going to do any Facebook Lives or Instagram posts about this? How are we going to coordinate the team so that it's not just me sitting in the middle of this doing the whole project, but we can utilize the skills of other people on the team? So just taking 15 minutes to sketch it out, I was actually able to come up with all the basic parts of it. So then I can go and meet with our team members and we can share the load. All right, so that was one example. Another current project I have right now is our editorial calendar. So as I was looking at this month and thinking, okay, what posts, what podcasts, what resources do we want to be putting out there? I decided I wanted to create this podcast that I'm recording right now to let you guys all know about this. Now, I don't know if I will ever do this other boot camp like I mentioned, and I want as many people as possible to come and join us. So my next action was to open up Evernote, and I spent 15 minutes outlining what I wanted to say to you in this podcast. So that was my next action. Then once that was done, I thought, okay, now I need to actually record the podcast. So I scheduled it on my calendar. My whole family knows that I'm up here in my little recording studio and I'm recording for you. That became a calendared event. Now, it doesn't have to be a calendared event, but in my case with my family, and I live in a very interruption-rich environment, I've got to schedule stuff like this so that I can do this for you. Okay, so next actions. Honestly, you learn how to boil things all the way down so you couldn't procrastinate even if you tried. That's going to help you never procrastinate again, because it's really easy to let feelings of self-doubt tell you, oh, I can't do that. I can't launch that new product, or I couldn't write that book, or I couldn't put on that event. I can't do this. I mean, I get those voices too. But when you're able to say, no, this is on my current projects list and here's my next action and now's a good time for me to do that, I'm going to go ahead and make that happen. You start creating this confidence where you actually believe in yourself and you trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, then you can make sure that other people can trust you as well. And that feels really, really good. Okay, number 5 is emails to zero. The common challenge is that most people have thousands of emails and they get buried as new ones come in. And then most people use their email inbox as a to-do list. They kind of hunt and peck and, oh yeah, I need to get back to that person. Oh yeah, I got to do that. And it's stressful. When you have thousands of emails and you know that there are some important things buried in there, that puts a weight on you that you might not even realize. Most people, when they get their emails to zero, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know how much mental capacity that was taking from me. But now that my emails are at zero, I feel so amazing. So what I want for you is emails at zero. I want all tasks extracted, so your email is not your to-do list. And I want those extracted tasks put into your command central in the appropriate locations. Either they're calendar tasks, they're routines, they're on your projects list somewhere, or their next actions organized by context. This can be a seamless system that keeps your mind totally calm. Now, you can get the basics of emails to zero using our free resource. I will link to it on the show notes page, so go there to check it out. Just go to learndobecome.com/episode 26. We're going to have all the links so that you can go look at this and maybe just take one at a time and go through this. This can be kind of like a little course you put yourself through. If you're dying to know exactly where to go right now to get your emails to zero, just go to learndobecome.com/inbox-0. Okay, you can sign up. We're going to show you. I actually have videos where I've done screen captures and I show you exactly where to click, what to do, where to put things. Now that will give you part of the emails to zero. That's like part 1. But the second part of learning how to eliminate the email stress is really learning how to extract the tasks from your emails, put them into your command central. Once you learn to do that, so easy. I mean, we get I wouldn't say thousands of emails a day, hundreds of emails a day. And some go to our team. They don't all come to me. But I sign up for a lot of stuff too. So I have a lot of emails. But because I have like filters in place, I've got my folders in place, I've got my system ready, and I can extract anything I need to. My emails are at zero pretty much all the time. Like right now, I think I have 3 in my immediate action, but I'm going to take care of those tomorrow. And it's all set. It just is so great. Okay, you're going to want that. All right, so we've gone through these 5 things that you could start with if you really want to be organized. But I want to pause here because it's not just about wanting to be organized. It's about actually being committed to getting organized. This works. It's going to change your life, but you have to be the one to do it. Because honestly, if I came into your life and I created your routines list and your projects list, first of all, I wouldn't even know what to put on that list. And second, it wouldn't be sustainable. I want you to be able to create a system that's long-term, that will honestly last you for the rest of your life. I work with people every single day who basically are living inside bowls of spaghetti. They have ideas, tasks, text messages, appointments, papers swirling all around them, and it's hard for them to know where one thing begins and where the other one ends. I want you to have a fresh start. I want you to be able to sit down every day knowing exactly what you need to do, with flexibility to manage all of the new opportunities and challenges that might come your way. What I'm sharing with you is not a job to me. This is my mission. I love our community, and I honestly cannot wait to serve you at a deeper level. Now, again, all the details for the 5 things I've outlined above can be found inside of our STEP program, Steps to Everyday Productivity. This will be the new Module 1 once we've completed our STEP revamp. But if you want this information now, and you're listening when this podcast was just released, our boot camp is June 11th through the 14th, 2018, where I'm going to personally walk through this live with you. So come to our show notes page to learn more about that. LearnDoBecome.com/episode 26. Those of you who've been listening to this whole thing are like, we get it. We get it. All right, come to the show notes page, find the details. It's just the thing is, when I look at our stats, we have 250,000 downloads on this podcast. That's a lot of people who are listening to the podcast. But what's interesting is because people often listen to podcasts while they're driving or working out or walking or doing something, actually getting a podcast listener to show up on a website, it's a little trickier than you might think. I want you part of our community. I don't want to just be some random voice out there that you hear once in a while. I want you to be able to be part of the Learn, Do, Become community, be part of our team, and be part of this change that I honestly believe is a movement that can completely shape the world for the better. So grateful you're here. So grateful to be able to work with you. We will see you soon at LearnDoBecome.com.